What's going on, guys? This is Lior and welcome back to the channel. Now, what I thought I would do in this video is break down for you guys my monthly passive rental income that I generate from my properties. As you guys know, I do quite a bit in real estate, both in terms of buying my own properties as well as essentially raising capital for other projects that I do. But most of my passive income does come from the properties that I own myself. Even though, as I'll show you guys, I am starting to make some monthly cash flow on some of the projects that I've raised capital for now that they're coming to stabilization. So I'll break down all the numbers for you guys so you can see exactly what it's like, and also tell you my goals for 2021, where I'm trying to go to the next level. What's going on, guys? This is Lior and welcome back to the channel. Now, before I get into the video and actually break down all the financials for you guys, super quick, if this is your first time on my channel, first of all, welcome. And second of all, smash that subscribe button for me. Helps, you guys know the drill, helps the YouTube algorithm, motivates me to put out more content for you guys. So if you're finding this kind of information useful, smash that subscribe button for me, and that way you'll also be notified every time I do a new video. So let's get right into it. And I'm essentially gonna go through my properties by an order of how much they make, right, for me on a monthly basis. I'll break down the numbers behind them and you'll see exactly how much I pocket at the end of every month. So let's get right into it. So my very first property, it was the rental I bought 4.5 years ago now. That was my very first purchase. It was a 3-family in a neighborhood just outside of Boston. I used an FHA loan where I essentially owner-occupied and house-hacked the property. Today it is fully leased out, so it's a full rental property for me. And I'll give you guys the numbers. I'm gonna look at, I've got my screen with all my numbers here. That's what I'm gonna be turning away. But basically, my monthly PITI, right, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, that number on this property comes out to about $3,300 per month. Now, other expenses I incur on a month-to-month basis, typically I incur about $400 in trash expenses, and that's because I essentially hire a contractor to take the trash in and out on trash days. Yes, I know it's kind of ridiculous. Tenants should be doing that themselves, but unfortunately a lot of them don't. So I've just had to start eating that cost, paying someone to literally go in, put bins out on trash days and then take them back in. So I spend about $400 a month on that. Typically my water sewer bill is somewhere between $300-400. Let's call it $400 just because I also have a 4-bedroom in that building and they obviously have a lot of people in there, so they use more water. So that's why the bill is a little higher. And then I also typically have about $400 on average per month in monthly maintenance. So adding all that up, that's about $1,200 per month in expenses that I typically incur, right? So all in with the principal, with the PITI, that comes out to about $4,500 per month. Now, my gross rent roll on that building is $6,400 per month. So $6,400 minus $4,500 comes out to about $1,900. Again, that's a rough number, somewhere around $1,900 to $2,000 per month. Now, those are obviously solid numbers. I will say I haven't really felt that the last maybe 6 months, just because I've been doing a lot of projects and I've had some headaches recently at that building. I decided to build out storage units for the tenants recently. I've rebuilt a couple of staircases. I've had to do a lot of newer maintenance and upkeep the last couple of months. So the last couple of months, I've honestly I've kind of been eating it a little bit on the maintenance costs. But I'm hoping now that I'm finishing up a lot of those projects, starting probably like June or July, I'll really start to incur again that $2,000 per month net cash flow, which will obviously be awesome. Now, property number 2 that generates me the most amount of monthly income is the second property that I house hacked. That was actually about 1.5 years ago. I actually, again, used an FHA loan where I decided to go buy a 3-family, this time in a different pocket of Boston. That was a $900,000 3-family. Yes, that is what 3 families cost in Boston. They are very expensive. So in terms of the numbers on that one, our monthly PITI, or again, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, is about $5,400 or so. On that one, since I bought it more recently, I still actually also have my PMI payment, or your private mortgage insurance payment. I believe that's running me about $500-600 per month. So I'm hoping within about maybe 2 years or so, I'll be able to get to that 80% equity, refinance out of that FHA loan, and get rid of my PMI payment, which will obviously help with my monthly cash flows. Now, in terms of expenses, they're pretty similar structure. I've got about $300 per month in trash payments. Again, same thing. I hire a contractor, every month he takes the trash out on trash days and then brings the trash bins in. So that's about $300 per month. My water sewer bill there is a little bit better. It's $300 per month. Over there I have a mix of 2 and 3 bedrooms, so a little bit of a better unit mix, if you will. And then on a monthly maintenance basis, there I'm probably only averaging about $300 per month. Honestly, that building has been really, really good in terms of maintenance. I've really not incurred a ton. It's a really nice, thick brick building that was relatively well maintained by the previous owner. I did a lot of upfront work where I put in brand new furnaces when I bought it. So I spent about $30,000 putting in new heating systems everywhere, put in nice baseboard. So I did do some updates up front, which helped. So my total monthly expenses outside the mortgage is about, let's call it $900 to $1,000. So if you do the math, add that with the 5,400 PITI, comes out to about, somewhere around $6,000 to $6,300 per month is what I'm typically incurring in costs. Now, my total gross rent roll on that building is about $7,800 per month, which is a super strong rent roll. So again, doing the math, usually we net out about $1,500 to $1,800 per month in cash flow. Now, again, I own that property 50-50 with a friend of mine, so splitting it down the middle usually gives me about $800 to $900 per month, more or less. The one thing I'll say about this property, it's been a lot better, but I have incurred some kind of turnover recently, so it did hurt my cash flows a little bit upfront. So those are the financials for the properties that I essentially bought by myself or with one other person. Now, as you guys know, and as I said before, a large bulk of my portfolio is essentially property that I bought by raising capital, right? So on those kinds of projects, typically the yield is a lot lower on a month-to-month basis, right? Because I'm usually paying out investors preferred returns and giving them first dips at cash flows. For me, it's usually an equity play, which I'll talk about a little bit more. But still, I've started now to actually get some pretty decent, consistent monthly cash flows from a lot of those projects that we've stabilized from the last year or two. So I'll give you guys a couple of numbers behind some of those buildings. So on one of my projects that we actually bought about a year ago, again, we raised some money from people that placed it in as equity. I actually bridged a little bit of the money that we needed for that project, and I lent it to the LLC that we bought it in as debt, right? So I essentially, even though I was part of the LLC, I as an individual lent that LLC some money, because we needed some for construction and everything. And today I essentially get a consistent monthly interest rate on it, right? So today I make about $350 per month on it, which is not bad. It's a nice, it's a 12% annualized interest rate on the cash, which is, pretty good cash flow. I have another property that we bought about a year ago that is now fully stabilized. That is actually producing some great cash flow. We got a ton of reserves. There's been a couple of months where I've essentially sent out distributions of $300 per month to all my investors as well as myself. I haven't done that the last 2 or 3 months because we're actually closing on a cash out refinance for that property where I'm actually going to be returning about 50% of the money I raised up front. I'll do another video on that project and separately. But again, it started to produce some yield for me, about $300 per month on a number of months this year. So not too bad as well. Then there's another property that we bought in 2019 that we stabilized about a year and a half ago or so. That was a full gut rehab. Again, that property has made me $250 per month on a number of months this year. And finally, another actually my very first portfolio that I bought where I raised money for. That portfolio kind of has had a lot of ups and downs. We actually closed on a large cash out refinance a few months ago where we completely returned all the original capital that we borrowed. But still, I'm still getting about $250 per month or so in distributions for myself from those cash flows, which is really nice. Now, again, those numbers are not huge, but as I said, a lot of those buildings where I raise capital for, I'm not necessarily doing them as huge like cash flow plays. Again, especially in an expensive market like Boston that already offers such low yield in general. Those kinds of projects for me are a lot more of an equity play, right? Where I'm really growing on my balance sheets, right? But I'm still generating a decent amount of cash flow now from all of this. If you add up all those extra like couple $100 that I make here and there, usually probably adds up to somewhere around $1,000 a month, give or take. Again, it can fluctuate a little bit. So between the first 2 properties, which generate about $3,000 per month, and all of these other smaller distributions from the rest of the portfolio, that's about $1,000 a month. That in total adds up to about $4,000 per month in passive income, right? Now, in terms of my plans moving forward, and how I'm going to increase that number, right? Because ultimately I want to get to, ideally I really want to get to around $25,000 per month. Even in an expensive market like Boston, that's my real ultimate goal. I'm doing a couple of things for that, right? First of all, right now I've got about 20 units that are all under construction or renovation. Those are all projects that I raised capital for. But again, as you can see, over time, some of these buildings are starting to produce decent yield. So $200-300 here, multiply that by 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Over time, it's gonna grow, right? So I'm hoping as I stabilize these 20 units that were under construction renovation, that will probably be another $1,000 to $1,500 per month that I can start expecting on a consistent basis. And then my plan towards the end of the year, I'm saving a decent amount of money now as well. I'm actually gonna save up enough money to go buy another multifamily completely by myself. I won't be able to use the owner-occupant loan, unfortunately, again, because I've already used that. So I'll just have to go straight 25% down. And in Boston, if you're buying a 3-family with 25% down, you need about $200,000, $250,000, depending on the price range. And you can expect to make about $1,500 to $2,000 per month in cash flow. So if I can do that by the end of the year, I should be able to get to somewhere around, an extra $1,500, let's say, for that purchase. Hopefully another $1,000 to $1,500 between all the other projects we have going on. Should be maybe another $2,500 per month to maybe $3,000, which will allow me to push $7,000 per month in monthly rental income, which is my goal that I set for 2021, right? It was to hit that $7,000 per month mark, because I think at that number, I'm basically completely covering all my expenses. I'm at home, personal, as well as business, right? I have quite a bit of overhead between the two businesses of real estate investing and being a real estate agent. So if I can hit that $7,000 per month, it will be absolutely mint, and then I'll focus next year on growing that to 10,000 and 15,000 and so forth. So hopefully that's helpful, guys. Hopefully those numbers kind of make sense. Hopefully that kind of inspires, educates, and shows you the possibilities of real estate. Even if you live in a super expensive market like I do in Boston, again, one of the most expensive markets in the country, it's still possible to create cash flow. It's still possible to create yield. You just got to get creative between owner-occupant plays, 25% down plays, maybe JVing, raising capital, right? Where there's a will, there's a way. So hopefully that makes sense, guys. If you guys have any questions, just shoot them below.